If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Ha! It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. I've got a returning guest, Ted Siedle. He is the #1, the biggest whistleblower in history, I think in the world. We'll get into the details on that one here. But Ted, so great to have you back today. Why the song Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes Wake Up? I think we do need to wake up in America. A lot is going on. I don't know how much you want to get into the political side of things. Maybe we need an equalizer for this voting stuff that's going on around the world, but around the country. But why the song Wake Up, everybody?
Well, I chose it because it's, as it says, is if you're going to change the world, you've got to get out there and do it. And there's a group that we're going to be talking about in Ohio. 38,000 retired teachers in Ohio have put together a crowdfunding effort to have a forensic audit of their pension, which it really needs. The pension really needs auditing. And so this is a grassroots effort started by this group of retired teachers, the Ohio Retired Teachers Association, ORTA it's called. And so they're really trying to change things. And so that's why I thought Harold Melvin, Wake Up Everybody was a perfect song for this.
Yeah, so guys, if you don't know, Mr. Siedle is, again, the biggest whistleblower. I've had him on 3 times now. First time was talking about that very 2 cases he's done with the CFTC and the SEC. Both of those cases he won, both the largest in history. Okay, so the guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and he specializes in pensions, state pensions. So we're going to talk to him today about the situation going on in Ohio. How serious is it? Because from what I'm understanding, Ted, they're looking to get COLA back into the, I don't know, tell us a little bit about what that is and how that is hurting the pension holders right now in Ohio. And then maybe we can talk about other states that maybe you're looking at as well.
Sure. Well, what's going on in Ohio is happening all over the country. There's over I think 4 trillion in pension funds. There's over 4 trillion in money in state and local pension funds, and the workers are being asked to cut their benefits that they get in order to make the pensions more sustainable. And what I found, and I've written extensively about in my book, Who Stole My Pension, is that these state pensions are being grossly mismanaged, and cutting the benefits paid to retired teachers is not going to improve the health of these pensions. So what the group in Ohio wants is to have an investigation done and see whether cutting their cost of living adjustment, their COLA, is really necessary, or is there something else going on?
Gotcha. So how bad is it for Ohio right now as far as their shortfall? What is the shortfall looking like in Ohio with their pension?
I don't really have the specifics on the Ohio fund because I haven't started an investigation there yet.
Okay, gotcha.
But this is a group that's of teachers in Ohio that have decided that they want an investigation done of their pension, and they want an expert of their own. This pension fund is paying millions of dollars a year to have experts tell them that what they're doing is right. And so this group wants an expert of their own for a second opinion. And so getting a nationally recognized expert to give a second opinion, an opinion that's every bit as valid as the opinion that this pension fund is paying millions of dollars for, is important. And I think that we will find that there are a lot of questions to be asked. There are a lot of red flags at the pension already.
Right. So they have this site, guys, and I saw on here before getting on, Ted, that non-members can also donate. Is that correct?
That's right. And in Ohio and in other states, the non-pensioners may want to contribute because these pensions are supported by taxpayers. So what we call stakeholders in these pensions are taxpayers who pay into these state and local pensions, and the workers who pay into them. So it can be just as important to taxpayers that they ensure that the pensions are being run properly.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll leave a link, guys, in the description or pinned at the top of this video, so you guys can go check out. If those of you who live in Ohio, you have to live in Ohio though to donate. Is that correct?
No, you can.
No. Okay.
There are pretty much in every major state, there is a association of retired teachers, and so there may be members of those associations in other states that may want to support the efforts of their brothers and sisters in Ohio. So if they would like to support, I'm sure the people in Ohio would welcome those contributions.
Yeah, because right now it looks like they've got about 14,000. Their goal is 75K, so they're not too far off. I don't know if there's a deadline on this, but definitely check it out. We're going to get into the nitty gritty on this whole situation with pensions. I've had Ted on in the past. As I've stated at the beginning of the video, we talked about the pensions and which ones were in dire straits. I think Illinois was bad, and maybe he can update us on, what's going on now. What are you working on right now, Ted? What other cases are you working on right now?
Well, I just completed a forensic investigation of the city of Cranston, Rhode Island pension fund, and that's public, that people can read about. And I'm doing a lot of very interesting work with whistleblowers, some very exciting whistleblower work. But when you talk about pensions that are in bad shape, there is actually a list of the top 20 worst funded state pensions, and those include pensions like Illinois, Kentucky, and so it's well known that there are many major pensions that are hugely underfunded, and the money's just not there to pay the pension benefits that have been promised, and the management of these pensions is being corrupted by pretty much Wall Street. Wall Street is looting these pensions, and that's by the way, the subtitle to the book I did with Robert Kiyosaki. It's Who Stole My Pension? How You Can Stop the Looting.
Yeah, that was a good book. I remember when you and Robert came on and talked about it. It was a great interview having you guys on. What's the feedback from that book? How are people appreciating that book?
Oh, the book has really been very helpful because we talk about in the book the idea that people participating in these pensions can become empowered and do these forensic investigations. I have another investigation that's coming out very soon that's going to get a ton of publicity. I can't talk about it just yet.
Okay.
But it involves a lot of well-known celebrities, let's say. And so the book is getting the word out that you can take control, become empowered, and get together with others and demand a forensic investigation of your pension. You don't just have to sit back and hear that the money's running out and you may not get the pension benefits you've been promised. You can be proactive, get together with others now through crowdfunding on the internet, and get a second opinion. Ask experts to weigh in on whether the people managing your pension are doing it properly, or is Wall Street looting the pension, which is all too often the case.
I mean, Wall Street seems to be looting everyone's pockets, even those in the 401k. Do you cover like the 401k sector as well, or you focus solely on the pension side?
No, we very much cover the 401k sector, and the 401k sector is we're seeing right now, since COVID actually, a explosion of lawsuits alleging excessive fees, conflicts of interest, mismanagement. So there's a tremendous amount of litigation that has been instituted since COVID over the last 6 months. Hundreds of cases challenging some of the largest 401k plans.
And I bet you I know why, Ted, because the Fed has been pumping so much money into these markets, right? So the whole point of being in a 401k is to beat the index. But it's very hard to beat the index funds when it's just going straight up, right? Is that kind of what people are realizing? Like, wait a minute, I'm in the 401k and my returns don't reflect the S&P 500. My returns don't reflect the Dow Jones. Is that what you're seeing as a commonality as far as across the board with complaints? Or what are you seeing on your end with the 401ks?
Well, you're absolutely right, but there's two components. The actively managed 401k funds that stock pickers are picking stocks. Those are actively managed 401k funds are underperforming index funds hugely. So most 401k investors are doing badly. But the other thing about actively managed mutual funds in 401ks is they charge much higher fees. So these cases are focused on the fact that 401k plans are not offering the lowest cost investment alternatives. And it just so happens that the lowest cost investment alternatives are actually the best performing. So it's a double whammy. You're paying more and getting less.
Oh man, that sounds like Wall Street. Wall Street. So are you handling any of those cases right now for 401k, or are you just getting a lot of solicitations and inquiries about it?
I'm handling a few of those cases now as well. In the past, I have sued Walmart for their 401k.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been involved with 401k litigation involving many of the major American corporations like Northrop Grumman, Bechtel, John Deere, just about 12 different Fortune 100 companies. So I'm well familiar with those cases. But the other thing is that during this COVID period, many people are at home watching their 401ks closer than ever because they've cut their commuter time.
Yep.
And so they've got extra time to spend looking at their 401k accounts. So there's a lot of attention is being paid to 401ks right now, particularly because of COVID. And the other thing that's interesting about COVID, I work with whistleblowers a lot, and whistleblowers are people in companies who spot wrongdoing, illegalities, and then want to report them to the government for a potential award. Well, nowadays with COVID, most people are working at home, so your boss is not watching over you closely. So you can
never thought about that.
Yeah, you can report things to the government. You can it's much easier now to report wrongdoing if you're working remotely than if you're sitting in your boss's office.
But wait, Ted, aren't they, because of you, aren't they changing the whistleblower laws, or has that not been passed yet? I heard they were changing the laws on that where you couldn't even be compensated for whistleblowing, or kind of give us a little bit more detail on that and what the status is with that situation.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I have won the largest whistleblower award in history, which was $78 million. And so there was a effort to cap the maximum awards after I got my award, to cap them at $30 million. Fortunately, that effort did not go through, and so there is no cap. And in fact, I think a whistleblower recently received a $100 million award, beating my record.
Wow.
So
What whistleblower did that? What case was that? Was it here in the States or?
yeah, it was here in the States, but this was the SEC awarded, I believe, $100 million to a whistleblower, but they didn't disclose what case it was related to. So the awards are still coming, and some are bigger. And I'm happy to say that my record has been broken.
Wow.
And so
that's great, and that's tax-free money, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, no, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not tax-free.
Oh, okay. I thought it was tax-free money.
But I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I'm sure not. I'm sure not. Let's talk about the top states again. We kind of touched on it. I have this article from Kiplinger about the top 20 worst states. This is this is kind of old. This is 2018. I did see one that was newer. It was from, I think, that was from January of 2020, this year. So we have Louisiana is number 10. I'm just going to jump to number 1. And they currently have, Ted, number 1 being Kentucky. Does that align with what you are seeing?
Absolutely. Kentucky is in terrible shape. And the funding level in Kentucky was, I think, around 12%, which meant they had 12 cents in the pension for every dollar they had promised in benefits. And we believe post-COVID, Kentucky may well slip into single digits, so under 10% funding.
Now, Ted, come on now. Can they ever? I just don't see them ever catching up.
Oh, no, they can't. At that level, they can't. They pretty much become what they call a pay-as-you-go system, where every year you take in money from taxpayers and current workers and pay it out immediately to retirees.
Oh, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Well, it's not quite a Ponzi scheme, but there's no investing going on at all. You are taking money from one group of people and giving it to another group of people.
Ted, that's a Ponzi scheme, Ted.
I didn't say that, but that's what it is. They're taking money from one group, not investing it in the stock market, but then immediately handing it to pay off other people.
Man, so we have number 2. This is surprising. New Mexico. I mean, I don't know. I've just never even thought about why is New Mexico in such a bad situation. Are you following them?
No, New Mexico is one I have paid very little attention to, actually, and I'm kind of surprised that's on the list. I generally think of Kentucky and Illinois and
so we do have Rhode Island, number 3.
Yeah, Rhode Island, I've done a lot of work in Rhode Island. And Rhode Island is a case where the governor of Rhode Island about 6 years ago, told state workers that the pension was in trouble and the only way to fix it was to cut the COLA benefits paid to the state workers. And so she pushed through legislation to do that. But what she didn't tell people was she was then going to take that money and gamble it in hedge funds, which she did and lost $1 billion. So basically it was a wealth transfer. The money was taken from workers, given to Wall Street to gamble in hedge funds. They lost it all, and the pension fund is in worse shape now than it was before they cut the benefits. So
didn't she have some relationship with the hedge funds that she was dealing with? Is that case?
Absolutely. The hedge fund guys gave a ton of money to her campaign. Gina Raimondo. She's now the governor of. She's on her way out as the second-term governor of Rhode Island, who's done a terrible job.
How are these people in jail, Ted? I just don't understand. You know, I put out a tweet a couple of days ago, and maybe this is extreme, maybe not.
The remarkable thing was about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the Biden campaign floated her name out as
Oh
potential
my God.
Treasury Secretary.
Oh,
So I said making her Treasury Secretary made about as much sense as putting Dracula as a head of the blood bank. This woman is completely incompetent in financial decision making. She does nothing but cater to Wall Street.
Wait a minute.
So she'd be disastrous.
Wait a minute. I didn't even know this was being floated around. What is going on in America in 2020, guys? I don't understand. I want to show you guys this tweet, and I put this out. I said China. I said it like our current president. China seems to at least get something right. I promise wealth distribution would even out of Wall Street lives where we're on the line for fraud and greed. So this guy, or in China, this chairman was actually sentenced to death for mismanaging billions of dollars from a company. And I didn't know that this was a thing until I interviewed a gentleman that had a blockchain startup. He's in South Korea, and he was actually jailed for many, many years, and everything was stripped from him. He had a public traded company. He mismanaged a lot of the funds, and he almost was sentenced to death, but they took everything from him. He actually owed millions of dollars, $20 million. He's in the hole. He's still trying to pay that off. He did severe amounts of time in jail. Why don't we do that here? We need to have that type of accountability here in America. It's just getting worse and worse, Ted. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's just not the American way. In America, nobody goes to jail, nobody admits guilt, and nobody ever pays back all the money they stole. So that's the way that's the American way, is that companies will agree to pay a small fine, and they will, in the same breath, say that they are not admitting any wrongdoing. And the small fine, if you steal $1 billion, you get fined $10 million. So it's always worthwhile to steal. You never have to pay back all the money. In fact, I'm finishing a new book that Robert Kiyosaki's company is publishing, and it's called How to Steal a Lot of Money Legally. And it talks about these very issues, about how Wall Street steals and never is held accountable.
Yikes. Yeah, we've got some serious issues, especially with this current. I don't know your political, which way you swing on that topic, but it just, I think we're at a very critical point in America, seeing what's going on with the election and everything, and now hearing that one of the worst people over pensions in the country is now being looked at to be part of the cabinet. I mean, I don't know where we go from here, Ted.
Well, the commentators were saying that her name was just put out there because that she's not seriously being considered for the position, but her name was put out there because she is so friendly to Wall Street that they could then segue into another name, another person who is friendly to Wall Street but not quite as friendly, and that person would sail through the process. So Gina Raimondo, the current thinking was her name was put out as sort of a trial balloon to see what would happen if you picked someone who was very friendly to Wall Street, but I don't think she stands any real chance of being Treasury Secretary. Certainly doesn't have any history of successfully dealing with financial matters.
Yeah.
But I'd like to mention this group in Ohio. I think what they're doing is very exciting. Because this is a large pension system that has a lot of financial problems, is under a lot of strain, and it's a big pension system. And I've seen.
So tell us about this guy, John Schroeder. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's the one that reached out to you. How did he find you? Give us that backstory.
Well, John, I think is another person who read the book, and he's a reporter in Ohio, and he has been urging that an investigation be done there for the last couple of years, and finally there seems to be a critical mass, a group that's willing to get out there and promote this. I mean, this Ohio Retired Teachers Association has, I understand, like 38,000 members. These members only have to contribute $2 each to fund this investigation. $2 each to have an investigation done of their pension, of the pension benefits they will receive for the rest of their lives. Is it worth $2 to have an investigation done on the pension benefits you will be receiving for 30 years or so in your golden years? I think it certainly is, and that's what's so great about crowdfunding on the internet today, that nobody has to put up a lot of money to introduce some transparency and accountability into the system. You know, $1 or $2 can be all it takes. And so I think it's very exciting that they've gotten together and embraced this idea. I hope they're successful with it. And from a distance here, far away in Florida, I can see major red flags at the Ohio teachers pension fund system. I can see things from here that should be investigated. And I've been doing this long enough where my hunches are almost always right.
Right. Wow, man, this is very interesting. And yes, guys, definitely. I know, donations are going towards other fraudulent possible activities to be unearthed in this current time. But if you are interested, especially if you live in the state of Ohio, even a non-member, check it out. I'll leave a link. I think any donation is warranted and would be greatly appreciated by these guys. I just, I don't know where Ohio sits on the list. Maybe Ted, but I just think something needs to change. There needs to be some type of reform. What do you think? You fight against these to unearth a lot of the grimy stuff that goes on in these pensions, but do you have solutions for these states? I know solutions will kind of put you out of business, but I mean, honestly, what have you assessed over the years of dealing with these states? What can be done going forward so that I don't even know, I'm a millennial. I don't even know we're going to be able to retire, but are pensions just a thing of the past?
Well, I think pensions are going to come back. Pensions are a thing of the past that's going to come back in the future, because
really,
the great 401k experiment has ended disastrously. I mean, 401ks really got their start in the 1980s.
But 401k was supposed to, sorry to cut you off, was supposed to be one leg of a three-legged stool, right? That was the whole moniker, the whole saying. It wasn't supposed to be our only thing for retirement. So go ahead, I'm sorry. Right,
401ks were basically supposed to be started as a bonus plan for senior employees. And 401ks were never intended to be a retirement plan. So one of the great frauds on the American public was the selling to American workers of the 401k as a retirement plan. It was never intended to be a retirement plan. And if you look at the results, with average 401k balances today of maybe $70,000, there's nobody can retire on $70,000. Interest rates at 1%, you're talking, so it's $700 a year. 401ks have not worked, and so they've failed, several generations of workers, and so we'll have to go back to the drawing board and go back to a more of a pension-like system. But fixing pensions is easy because it's pretty obvious. There's certain fundamental truths about pensions, and one of them is transparency is a good thing. In financial matters, transparency is always a desirable. I think we all agree on. Well, what's happened at pensions across the nation, and indeed around the world, is as a result of Wall Street lobbying, they've become less transparent, more secretive than ever in the last 15 years. Another universal truth or fundamental truth about pensions is lower cost investments are always better. And what's happened over the last 15 years is pension costs have skyrocketed. So that's another way we know that by improving transparency, cutting costs, management of pensions can be improved dramatically. And those should be relatively non-controversial ideas. There are other ideas as well, like eliminating conflicts of interest. Most everybody thinks that would agree that conflicts of interest involving the firms handling your money should be eliminated or mitigated. So these are the non-controversial things that could result in fixing pensions that exist and in new pension models that creep up or created in the years to come to replace 401ks.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting, and it will be quite a story to look at and read on in the future. Seeing how all this pans out. I'm not convinced of 401ks, and you say that pensions are going to be back in play soon. I just think we as a country can't possibly go back to pensions until we fiscally get ourselves in order. I think there's got a lot of stuff we got to do as a culture here in America, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Tell us about, before I let you go, Ted, I read your book, Who Stole My Pension, before you and Robert Kiyosaki came on the channel. Tell people about this book. This is a very interesting book because you guys kind of went back and forth telling your story, and it was pretty neat how you guys wrote it. Tell us a little bit about this book and how they can get that.
Yeah, well, the book, Who Stole My Pension, I wrote with Robert Kiyosaki. And for anybody who doesn't know who Robert Kiyosaki is, I don't know what rock you're sleeping on, but Robert is the most successful personal finance writer of all time. He sold over 41 million copies of his Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. Mm-hmm. And so he's really been a pioneer in the personal finance genre for decades now. And so what we did in this book was Robert and I met. He asked me he was flying to Florida to take a cruise with a group of several hundred investors, a educational cruise. They were leaving from Fort Lauderdale, and he said, "We're going to be there one night before we leave. Can you come down and speak to us?" So I went down to the hotel in Fort Lauderdale, went up to the stage. He handed me a microphone and he said, "Here, walk around in the crowd and talk to people." And so that went extremely well, because one of the things about pensions is that state and local pensions particularly is everybody's got an opinion about pensions. Even if you don't have one, if you're a millennial, or if you have a 401k, you don't have a pension, everybody has an opinion about pensions. So in talking to his crowd of investors, who were primarily real estate investors, going out on this cruise, they were all keenly interested in their state and local pensions and had lots of questions. From whatever state they were from, they had questions about their pensions. So what we did with the book was that Robert said, let's do a book together on pensions. And so we did that. And so I write one chapter in the book, and then he follows with the following chapter. And some of the key chapters are just understanding what's the causes of the retirement crisis that America and the world is facing right now, because we have a global graying of the population, a global demographic shift where we have more older people living today than ever in the history of this planet. And we talk about how pensions are being mismanaged and how they lie about fundamental things like the fees they pay, the risks they take, and the amount which they how much they're gambling with pension money. So I think it's a fascinating book. That it's one of the things Robert and I said at the get-go was the last thing we wanted to do was write a book that was factually correct, that nobody read or could understand.
Right.
This book does not do that. Okay.
Yeah. It's very in a lay way, right? It's put in a very layman's way for people to understand and digest. I think, great book, and I'm excited to hear or read your next book coming out. When do you think that's going to be ready?
The next book, I think we're putting it out for pre-order for this Christmas season. So we're talking. Hopefully, it'll be out for pre-order by the end of this month. And again, that is a book called "How to Steal a Lot of Money Legally." So it's about It's about teaching people who didn't go to Ivy League schools and and didn't land jobs at Goldman Sachs, how those people steal money legally, because that's information you need to know, both to protect yourself and also why should they be the only ones profiting in these ways? If it's legal, right, you should be able to do it too.
Wow, yeah, that's great, man. I'm definitely gonna pick that one up because I need to steal me some legal money. Ted Siedle, thanks for coming on, and yeah, I got one last question for you. Bitcoin, you still haven't gotten any?
I haven't gotten any yet, but that's on my list of things to do, because I have not done a deep dive into Bitcoin to really understand what's going on. But I hear there's a lot of exciting things going on there, and certainly Robert Kiyosaki is a big fan.
Yeah, he's finally caught the Bitcoin bug. Definitely hit me up. I'll walk you through some stuff, man, and you definitely should get you a little bit, at least.
Maybe next time, that's what we'll talk about.
Yeah, let's do that. Ted Siedle, again, thanks for coming on today. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I just would again like to end with a shout out to the people at the ORTA, the Ohio Retired Teachers Association. I bid you well on this effort to fund a forensic investigation, and I hope you all are able to wrap it up before the holidays. Good luck.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to them, and that's good that they're pursuing that. I think that's a great thing, man. It's their tax dollars, and they need to have it managed the right way. It's time for a change for sure. Again, Ted, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure talking with you. Guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more interviews like this. Wake up, everybody. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. We're out of here. Holla!